Good evening, good evening, good evening, and welcome to Beyond the Battle Pain, Pageants, and Perspective, where we aim to bring you uplifting stories that remind you that you are not alone. Today, we will be discussing military transition stories with retired Command Sergeant Major Bryon Mulligan. Before we talk about him and his transition and his journey through his career, I'd like to talk to you about the Pledge Campaign Foundation. As many of you know, I am the reigning Mrs. Texas Universe TCP, and we are bringing awareness to homeless women veterans that are affected by domestic violence. And so what we're trying to do is to raise money to bring additional resources to those that are in need. At the bottom of your screen, you'll see a banner that is scrolling with a website that you can donate to. The goal was to raise as much money as we could in 30 days to ensure that this project went off without a hitch. However, we are down to 16 days and we have raised $50 out of $1,500. It is because of generous donors like you that we are able to do what we do and bring these resources to homeless women veterans that are affected by domestic violence. So if it is in your heart to give, please use the URL that's scrolling across the bottom of the screen to donate. We have 16 days remaining and the goal is $1,500. Again, this supports homeless women veterans and those affected by domestic violence. Without further ado, we will bring Command Sergeant Major retired Bryon Mulligan to the screen. He will tell us a little bit about himself. I know that he has been married for 30 years to a wonderful woman. So we got to whoop it up, give him some love for being married for so long. That is truly a blessing when you find your best friend like that. So without further ado, let's bring him on and hear his story. Hey, Sergeant Major, how are you?
Fantastic. How are you doing?
Better now that all the right buttons are pushed.
Hey, technology is amazing when it's working.
Yes, it's even better when the operator knows what they're doing. So, so why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself? I know that we've already kind of gone through this, but why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and why you joined the military?
Absolutely. So, like you had mentioned, I joined the military in 1990, straight out of high school, because I really didn't know what I was wanting to do and where I wanted to go. So, seemed like the logical thing to do. My dad served, my brother served, some uncles of mine served. So, I just kind of stepped in the footprints and followed them on. A little bit about it. I served for 29 years in the Army and I culminated as a command sergeant major for a Patriot Battalion. My entire life in the
Awesome.
military was air defense. And so I just had a great time. There was a lot of good times in the military. I worked in the chief of staff of the Army's office with the transitioning world with Soldier for Life starting. I kind of worked in that area. I did some great things as far as I was the president and vice president of Audie Murphy Clubs in several locations. I was a rappel master. Just had a good time doing a lot of different things. I was even able to create, develop, and implement the first TRADOC Spouses Award. You know, the FORSCOM Award is the
Wow.
Dr. Mary Walker. Ours is the Margret C. Corbin Award, and that's the TRADOC Award equivalent to the Dr. Mary Walker. So I just had a lot of good times, a lot of good opportunities, and it was fun.
Awesome. So I'm glad that you told me that because I too was a SAMC member. I think my medallion number might be MedCom number 491 somewhere. I think there might be a glimpse of blue ribbon back there on my shelf. But yeah, so well done. Lead from the front, Sergeant Major. I appreciate you
Absolutely.
being here. So tell us what you did in the military.
So I joined the Army as a pedestal mounted I've been a Stinger crew member, which means I shot a missile off my shoulder. I was the pedestal. It mounted on my shoulder. And I was an air defender for most of my career. The SHORAD is what they call it, short range air defense.
Okay.
And when I became a command sergeant major, they made me a HIMAD Patriot, which I never knew anything about. And I'm like, now I get to lead them. So great. Awesome. So my whole career was air defense.
That's awesome. You shared with me a story earlier about being in Hawaii, being 30 years old. You want to talk to me about that again? That's kind of a
Yes.
cool story.
I had mentioned that we in the military really hang on the times that we embraced the suck more than anything. Not when it was the best of times, but when it was the worst of times, that we really culminate at our best in those times. And I was
Right.
sharing that I was stationed in Hawaii. I was on this hilltop in Kaena Point, overlooking Turtle Bay Hilton, right there on the shore. Beautiful. It was my 30th birthday, and I'm sitting there digging a foxhole, as it's raining, and the ground is so hard there that it's just filling up with water. And I just lost it. Threw my shovel. I was like, I can't believe I'm sitting here in paradise, overlooking such luxury, and I'm digging a hole. So that was a really great time. That was a heck of a happy birthday right there.
That's awesome. That's really awesome. So you enjoyed your job, you
Yes.
enjoyed your career, and there is not many people. There's a small percentage of people that attain the rank of command sergeant major, and so we applaud you for that and the responsibility and all the emotions and stress and love that comes with that position. I'm sure it had to be one of the most rewarding positions. Would that be a correct assumption?
Absolutely. I never thought I would stand in front of 600 plus soldiers and they be listening to what I said. I would have never imagined that as Private Mulligan. It's amazing to sit back and look at what God blessed me with, honestly, because
Mhm.
believe it or not, I'm a very introverted guy. I don't like talking to people unless I have to talk to people. And then
No, not you.
absolutely. And my wife said that. She's like, you can motivate anybody. It's amazing how you get out in front of and motivate people. But if I didn't have to do that stuff, I would
Mhm.
rather just, stay in the background. Let's just go do missions and take care of stuff. But it was fun to watch teams develop, watch junior soldiers grow into non-commissioned officers, to watch
Yeah,
officers grow into better officers and commanders, just to see that culminating event where people are just gelling together was amazing. It's awesome.
that's awesome. That's really awesome. In my job as a combat medic, you get to see the best in people and the worst in people, and
Yeah.
so I truly understand that feeling of seeing the best in people and watching people grow. So that's really really awesome. So you spent a long time in the military. You spent a lot of time mentoring, coaching, teaching. I probably said that in the reverse order: coach, teach, and mentor. You know, and so give us some advice. Like, I was telling you that my 17-year-old is thinking of going into the military, and when he told me the MOS that he wanted, I was like, no, don't do that. Do something else. And the more I push, the more he digs in. He is truly a mini me. Um, but he knows what he wants. And somebody has to want to be the bullet pushers. You know what I mean? And so he is thinking about being an infantryman in the Army. And I know that there are many other people out there that have family members or maybe themselves that are thinking about going into the military. What advice would you give to them?
We had talked about it a little bit before too, and I think the biggest one would be to be committed. Be to
Mhm.
committed, and that's for anything you're wanting to go do. You want to do your
Right.
own business, you want to go work for somebody, you want to join the military. Be committed. And that's hard to understand and wrap your head around when you're brand new to the military, because you don't even know the culture you're in until you're in it for a couple of years and then start gelling together. Matter of fact, I didn't even know. I had called my dad. I was 3 years in, and I was like, I'm done. That's it. I'm done working for stupid people. And he said, Bryon, let me tell you something. So am I. And I'm like, but dad, you get to quit anytime you want. I don't get to do that. He said, but you can only quit so many times before people quit hiring because now you're the problem.
Right.
But it doesn't matter where you go. There's always going to be stupid people that you work with. You've got to be able to adapt and overcome that. And he said, you
Right.
know, 29 years, when you hit 20 years right now, you'll retire 20 years, you'll be 38 years old. You'll get a pension from the Army, go get another job, retire from that, and get another pension. There's 2 pensions. And, you know, and I was raised like anybody else, get a good education, to get a good job, to retire and have that pension. So that's what I did. And I just went after it, and I gave everything I did the best I could. You know, I went to Soldier of the Quarter boards. I had the fastest Stinger crew member team coming off the back, setting up, getting ready to fire. We had the fastest time. We had to go through qualifications. So I tried to get 100% on all my qualifications, everything I did. I pushed during my PT tests, and I did what Audie Murphy talked about, right? Lead from the front. So, and that's exactly what I would say is just go in, don't volunteer for anything. Don't volunteer. But when you get put in charge of something or you're put on a team, do the best you can do with everything that you got.
Right. Use your resources, use your assets, and those are the people around you.
Absolutely.
Good advice. That is solid advice, our major. You sound much like when I joined, I was 17. And my first sergeant, First Sergeant Bradley, I was this little spaghetti noodle. He said, you run fast. And I said, I do. I was so proud of it. I do. He's like, that's not going to get you everywhere. And I was like, it's going to get me somewhere because I'm going to outrun everybody else. And he said, but you know what? He said, you're a hard worker and you're smart. He said, just remember this one thing. What you put into it is exactly what you're going to get back.
Yep.
Take care of yourself and you'll take care of your people and your people will take care of you. And so that was one of some of the words that I lived by during my time in service. So I appreciate the seniors like yourself that provide such valuable advice to those of us that were new to the military. And now that you've transitioned, so that's where we're going next is to your transition. When did you start your transition?
So around 2018, 2019 timeframe, I fully was out November 1st of 2019. That was November 1st is my birthday. So I was a civilian. That was my present. The first day as a civilian. I was like, yes. But 18, 19 is when I started doing my transition stuff.
Okay. And how was that for you? I know that you talked about starting because Soldier for Life transitioning from TAP to Soldier for Life, and we had the several programs before that, and being able to work on that, knowing that soon you'd be in that boat. How was that?
So the funny thing is I didn't do very well, and it was at no fault of the system, right? TAPS can always get better. The transition assistance program can always get better. I mean, it's definite. And I remember listening to one of your pop episodes before. The lady's like, it was like drinking from a fire hose, and that's absolutely true because the Army's walking a very fine line. They have to maintain their books, right? The people that they have on their
Right.
books, and the people that, if you have nobody to replace Bryon Mulligan moving out, then I'm not going to let go of Bryon Mulligan until he's like fully, until I have another body. That's what a command looks like.
That's right.
Like the command is, they don't care about you transitioning out. And I don't mean that in a bad way. The military has a mission, and that mission is to fight and defend our wars and win. That's
Absolutely.
the mission.
And
So
that's right.
So when you're transitioning out, there is a very big gray line that goes in there. They're trying to do that's better than it was in ACAP, but I still think it has to have some improvements. And the improvements were great because they brought along things, other resources like Veteran Solutions for Life, team red, white, and blue, all of these different things that are going on, continue mission, all of these people that are helping you transition into the community. Now, I used to run a podcast as well, and a lot of great information came from very senior people saying that you need to find a mentor before you start this transition. And those
Yes.
mentors need to be people that have already gotten out. And I don't mean years and years ago, like yesterday.
Yes.
Snag onto those skirt tails of those people and milk their brain for everything they've got and let them
Right.
transition you out. And I know your story. You didn't get that opportunity because you had some circumstances and some family issues and things. What life happened, right?
Life happens.
Life
Absolutely.
happened. And the military doesn't believe in life. They're like, here's the blocks, check them and get out, right? We've got to keep you moving. They've got a mission to keep doing. So it's for us as the veteran to pick up that slack. Yes, TAP is great, but how do I help Kendra get out in a way that helps Kendra, not somebody that's just another number, right? That's where we need to get out. So when I was transitioning out, I had some opportunities to have some downtime. I had some leave packed into, so I did like 6 months of leave, which was good because it gave me the time to decompress, to
Right.
kind of wash myself of military for a little bit. But at the same time, I think, no, I did. I lost my purpose. I didn't know what I was. I went from, like I said, 600 plus soldiers to nobody. you know, I
Right.
had every morning structure, PT. This is time for work call. Go in and do maintenance. Do this. Hit meetings. Go to staff calls. All of it was structured to nothing. And I ended up sitting in my house, licking the walls, eating potato chips. I went up to 240 pounds.
Yep.
It was not right. And I used to, and I reflected a little bit on this real quick, is I used to tell my soldiers when they would come in for the promotion boards, I would ask the junior enlisted, what do you think a leader should be? And they would name off stuff. They need to be competent in their MOS. They need to know this. They need to be able to take care of that. And I said, well, then you be the change.
Right.
You be that leader that you're looking for. You now become that leader. And I've held on to that now, is be the change. And it's to be the change of me, be the change of the world around me, and to be the change of what I can affect. Because I can't affect everything. I can only affect what's going on with me. So with that being said, I had a coach for my business, started growing my business better. And a lot of it was getting out of my own way, getting out of my own head with some issues that I had to deal with. And it took a year to get through all of that stuff. And now I'm in a
You were
much
Speedy Gonzalez. You were Speedy Gonzalez. It took me 3.5.
I ain't done yet.
Right. So you transitioned. It wasn't necessarily rocky, but it wasn't at the highest point of life. But
Right.
you found your footing. What was it that helped you to find your footing, if you will?
Going back to being committed to something. Honestly,
Okay.
people told me when I was transitioning out that you could walk straight in out of a command sergeant major position and get a 6-figure job right off the bat. Too easy. But I know the time and effort a 6-figure job would take. And I was tired of losing time with my family. I was tired of running like my hair was on fire. And I've seen transitioning service members go from job to job to job to job to job, trying to replace the military, trying to figure out their purpose. And luckily, and with my wife taking care of stuff, she's going back to work now and gave me the opportunity to kind of figure out me. I had a buddy connect me with some businesses, and they were his business that I was part of a partnership with, and then I have another business I'm running, and that kind of helped too. I had a purpose, but I didn't know how to run with that purpose, right?
Okay.
It was,
Hmm.
I want to be in these businesses, but how do I take the sergeant major mentality and make it work as a civilian is where I was having the problems. I
Okay.
was trying to tell people, coach, teach, and mentor people that weren't ready to be coached and taught and mentored. They were like, "Hey, I'm a civilian. You can't talk to me this way." So it took a lot of that coming back and just figuring out, what do I need to do to be that change?
Okay. So that brings us to what you're doing now. Now you are still serving the community, but you're doing it in a different way, in a way that is much needed because there's so many people that are in desperate need of, you know, great healthcare. There are so many disparities out there. There's so much going on in healthcare right now. We know that through in our country, things can be better, right? So tell us what it is that you're doing now and how you're helping the community.
Absolutely. So that's a great question. And I want to give it kind of an analogy. Do you have car insurance?
Sure, I do.
Awesome. Do you consider yourself a relatively safe driver?
It's not my favorite thing to do, but to answer your question, yes.
Right. The unfortunate thing is you're paying for unsafe driver rates,
Right.
right? Because the people that are unsafe out there and causing accidents and having accidents, the rates go up that we kind of safe drivers have to pay, right?
We eat that cost. That's right.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's the same thing with healthcare. Do you have health insurance?
Hmm. I do.
Do you feel that you're relatively healthy?
A little crazy, but yeah.
Well, we can't cover that. But it's the same thing, is we're being charged for the relatively unhealthy people out there.
Right.
Now, I'm an independent business owner with a company that has a service. One of our services is called Impact Health Sharing. And it's a
Okay.
nonprofit organization of a like-minded group of relatively healthy people that help pay costs for each other's healthcare and health bills and stuff.
Mm, yeah.
Now,
That's
that that sounds really weird and sketchy. I know at first. We are cutting costs, but not care.
Mhm.
See, the way we cut costs are, it's relatively healthy people now that are in this group. So we're not paying those higher rates for the people that are relatively unhealthy. And how it works is basically same thing as insurance. It works the same way insurance does. You have a little card, you take it in, go to see your provider, hand it to them. They take care of the billing. And then Impact Health Sharing goes on your behalf to deal with the provider. The providers are getting paid within about 13 days, which they're stoked about. It's not months, it's like days they're getting paid. And we're being taken care of at cost, or I mean at relatively cost, because they're negotiating those prices down for us to
Mhm.
reasonable costs. And we're doing that once we hit certain levels in our costs, like insurance. It's a deductible. We call it a PRA. When
Okay.
we hit, it opens it up to the community to share. So everybody starts sharing each other's bills. So if I have 100 people, I got a $50 or $200 payment coming out, and everybody gives like $10. Boom, it's paid for, and we're all done. So
And we're
that's
all good.
in a snapshot. That's kind of what's going on, and it's showing that there is a better way for healthcare.
Right. So so for those that, don't have TRICARE or those that are out looking for healthcare, I'm going to actually type this in. I'm going to create a new banner and I'm going to type this in so that they can find you. What information would you like for me to put on a banner that people can find you and find your product?
You can actually type in my
Okay.
storefront, which is bmulligan.acnibo.com.
There we go. Let's show it to people. Me and technology, we're besties. Can you tell?
Anybody can do this. We got it.
Um, let's see. Oh, I know what it wants me to do. It wants me to hide this one, add this one. There we go. We got you going. So, friends, if you want to find out about the products and services that are within the realm of Sar Major's repertoire, what he has in his box of tricks, this is a great way to contact him. Does that look right to you, Sar Major?
Absolutely. And that's my storefront. And so you can go there and click on services. And I have more services than just healthcare. I like talking healthcare because there's such a need for it right now.
Mhm.
People are hurting on saving money
That's right.
and they're working their tail ends off and they're trying to figure out how to make ends meet. And if I could help them put money back in their pocket and still get the same coverage, or if not better than they were having, man, that's a win for me. That's a win for you. And that's what I want to do. Still
That's right.
continue to build those teams and take care of people.
So we were talking. So for our, I have a lot of friends and people that watch that are IT people. So we were talking earlier about all the security breaches and the vulnerability that we face when our social security numbers and our bank cards and all of the things end up on the dark web. And we have to ask the question. We know that there's a regulation out there that says that organizations are to report breaches within a certain amount of time. There are requirements for when there are a certain amount of people. But what does your organization have that helps those that really need to be mindful, and which is everybody? But what do you guys have that helps with that type of situation?
That's a great question. We have a service that is identity theft protection.
Mhm,
And I'll tell you a story kind of that goes with that. A buddy was telling me about it. He knew a friend that went to a car dealership to buy a car.
mhm.
She goes in there, they're doing all the paperwork up. The gentleman goes back, the whole thing. I'll go talk to my manager. I'll be right back. Right. He comes back and he's like, "Hey, we can't finance you because your credit is trash." She's like, "What are you
Oh,
talking about?" And he says, "You haven't paid your mortgage in years."
oh,
She's like, "I don't own a home." That's
oh.
right. She didn't own a home. Somebody stole her identity and bought a house and didn't pay any of the stuff because they didn't need to. It wasn't them.
It wasn't them.
Right. They somehow got a hold of her information. And that's kind of what we're looking at. Our service really monitors the dark web 24/7, scans it. When there is a breach that happens, like I've got all of my phone numbers, my kids' phone numbers, my wife's phone numbers, our emails all in there. And that's what it's checking for, those kind of things.
Mhm.
And when it pops up, it sends me an alert saying, "Hey, go check your credit reports," which they give me access to free credit reports that I can monitor at any time. And
Mhm.
they said, if anything pops up, contact us and we'll help you get through it. Because
Okay.
honestly, it took her years to get her name back, her good name
Mhm.
back.
I bet. And probably lots of money too, right?
Exactly. And the
Mhm.
thing about ours is we have $1 million policy on the back end. So if it does or would happen, well, let me put it this way. When it does, it's not about if anymore. It's about when somebody steals your identity.
Absolutely.
You have $1 million policy on the back end that can help you get right quicker. And that's what I like. It
And
comes with
again, this is a service that's cost effective, just as you spoke about the healthcare. Is that correct?
absolutely. You can get one of our things for like $30 a month. I
Oh, see,
mean,
that's a pretty amazing.
yeah, to cover your rear end and your family's rear end for $30 a month, I'm in it. I'm in it to win it.
So, how long have you been doing this? And is like I can hear the passion when you speak about it. So, how long have you been doing this, and how do you bring others in to do this with you?
That's great, man. And there is passion behind it. And I can tell you that it wasn't always passion, honestly.
Okay.
I did it as soon as I retired out. I signed up with a buddy of mine and we started doing this together. And so my last 8 years in the Army, I was a geographical bachelor.
Oh,
8 years. I
oh.
didn't live with my family. They stayed here in Texas where we're at now
Mhm.
because I had a daughter that was a senior in high school. My wife had 5 months left to get her nursing degree. And, all of this stuff. I was only supposed to go for two years and then come back.
Right.
Well, I got selected for sergeant major. That added another year. And then I went to school. It was 10 months. And then I went to Fort Sill and served there for 36 months as a CSM. And all of that time they stayed here. Now I was going on leave and coming here and there, but
Mhm.
for the most part, we were separated. So I was ending 29 years of that's all I knew service. I was trying to put a family back together that hadn't been together for 8 years. I
Mhm.
was trying to figure out what the heck my purpose was. And I was lost. And I had a business. And I'm like, yeah, I'm a business owner. But it wasn't until recently that I learned that entrepreneurs, people abuse that word.
Okay.
They think that they can be an entrepreneur and sit at home. I
I
was
you
one
mean
of them.
I can't do that?
Yeah. Why aren't they knocking on my door? I sent a message out on Facebook. Why aren't they contacting me? Right.
Right.
And so in the past couple years, it took a year with my coach. He brought me in. He asked if he could coach me, and I was like, heck yeah.
Mhm.
And like I said, it took a year to honestly figure out who I was and what actions really needed to be done and to get out of my own way. So prior to that, there was no passion. There was just dread and stuff like that. But now
Okay.
I'm helping people and I see it. And like you said, if they want to be part of a business opportunity, I have that side of it as well, where you can be alongside of me, you be in business for yourself, but not by yourself. I'm sitting there. We have a whole plethora of people above me that are doing fantastic work. But it goes back to that passion of building teams and watching people succeed in their dreams. We've lost the dreaming ability lately. People are just nugging it out over and over and over at work, trying to make ends
Unhappy.
meet.
Yep. Unhappy working multiple jobs, gig here, gig there, time off here. You're right. You were absolutely right.
And it's because they were raised just like me to get a good education, to get a good job, to retire. Well, that dog don't hunt no more.
Right.
The math ain't, life is life and math ain't mathin',
And
right?
math ain't mathing and bills ain't billing.
Right. So when the pandemic happened, we actually grew because we embraced technology. We are an essential service based company, which that means is cell phones, TV, internet, healthcare, identity theft protection, those things that people pay for every day and habitually budget for.
Mhm.
Why can't I help you save some money on that? And if that's the fact, why don't you jump in and help your buddy do the same thing and get a little bit of money back with that?
Right. You guys, listeners, viewers, check it out. In this time of crazy inflation, and we know that some rates have gone down, but everything hasn't because a gallon of milk still costs way too much money, and so do my little size 4 sneakers cost way too much money. There is opportunity here. There is opportunity here. So if you were interested in um, partnership or working with our major, again, use this link, reach out to him. He is on LinkedIn, Bryon Mulligan on LinkedIn, and follow him. Ask him questions. He's a gem and a wealth of knowledge. So um, don't miss out. I've chatted with him about this, and I'm going to tell you there is a time when my feet are going to jump in that pool. However, I find myself in another pageant when I find myself in another educational program or whatever. But the opportunity is there and it sounds great. And, people are saying great things about what you're doing. And so I'm super proud of you. I'm super proud that I got the opportunity to meet you. Um,
Ditto.
so
It's been a
tell me,
blessing.
you have this as I sit in my rocking chair here, you have this wealth of knowledge, and you are a spirit-filled child of God, and you are. I love how proud that you are to serve in under our God, and so if you could give any advice as far as transition and refinding a purpose or renewing a purpose, what would you say to our listeners?
Mm, wow, that's a big question, especially knowing now. I would honestly tell you that you're not in charge. Everything that you try to do, you might get frustrated at because you're trying to do it. If you step back as an individual, look at the entire sphere of influence, and I'm gonna and point towards what is important right now,
Mhm.
right? Family, God, spiritual. I'm telling you right now, I wasn't the ideal spiritual guy in the military. Trust me, I was not that dude. Um, but I came from a background of Christianity,
Mhm.
and now it's just more and more because I've gone through a program called Celebrate Recovery, which is
Mhm.
a 12-step program, God-centered program. And I went there to take care of one issue that I thought I needed to take care of, that I thought I needed to take care of. And when I started going through that recovery program, there was plethora, a ton of stuff that I've been working on, stuff that he has set me free from, stuff that we're working on right now. And he's also blessed me in being able to go to a place called The Landing, which is a offshoot of Celebrate Recovery, but for middle school to high school kids going through recovery too.
Okay.
You don't know it right now. Your kids are going through more than you're going through now at a younger age. You have never been
That's right.
experienced what they're going through right now. They have at their fingertips any and every temptation that they could ever want right there at a moment's notice. And it's not necessarily always pornography, but bullying, hatred, you name it, what you're thinking of right now, they're going through. So
Drugs,
to have the
alcohol, weapons.
landing, yes, to have the landing to be able to provide them resources through Christ that they can walk into a better life than I had.
Mhm.
That is amazing.
That's awesome. That is really awesome. And thank you for sharing that.
Thank
Because I
you.
don't know that many people know or may not remember about Celebrate Recovery. So, those of you guys are out there, let me put this up, see if I can create this a little easier this time. Um, you know someone or you yourself have some issues that you want to work on, Celebrate Recovery is for you.
Yep, and you can go on you can Google it and then it'll tell you if there's a Celebrate Recovery around you, they'll give you locations to where they're at. And they're normally attached with a church. So that's because it's God-centered and the church kind of oversees the ministry of that.
Mhm. Understood. So that's pretty awesome. So as we wind to a close, we want to thank you again for being here. And so I am, as Mrs. Texas Universe, as partnered with the Pledge Campaign Foundation. We bring awareness about domestic violence and those that suffer. On my platform, Continuing Courage, I focus on homeless women veterans and those that are affected by domestic violence. I spent the last 2 years focusing on mental health and education as contributing factors to them. On today, what I would like to ask is if you would be willing to take the domestic violence pledge with me. And that pledge says, at the end of it, I'll go over it all with you right now. And at the end of it, if you choose to, you say I, and if you choose not to, then you say you work on it and you'll show the information and there's no love lost, right? So the domestic violence pledge says that I, as an individual, will help to bring awareness and show strength for those who are in need, in vulnerable positions. As a male that knows a woman, you will stand in the gap. Not that domestic violence does not happen to men. It is just that it happens to everybody, and men seem to be, the bigger presence. So, as a male, you will help to bring awareness and resources to those who are in need, and you will share the information to others. And as a woman, and the woman in your life, we are accountable for those that we allow to love us. We are accountable to those whom which we love, and we are responsible for how we reciprocate our love. And for children, we will be mindful of what we speak, how we speak, and be aware of our actions, as we know that children will repeat what we say and what we do. We will not beat our pets, because our pets are of our family. Whether they're your outside members of the family, they are still members of your family, and we won't beat them, we won't fight them, and we won't kill them for unnecessary purposes. If you want to stand with me in this pledge, as I partner with the Pledge Campaign Foundation, say aye.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yay! Thank you. I am putting the pledge out there, and just trying to bring as many people in as we can. As we know, homeless women veterans are the fastest growing homeless demographic in the United States, and upwards of 40% of those across the United States that are homeless women veterans have stated that they are homeless due to domestic violence. Here in Texas, we have about 22,000 homeless veterans, male and females alike. However, we are on track with our homeless women veterans. We are with the national standards, and we meet that mark of 40% still here in Texas. So we're just doing the best we can to bring awareness to this plight, raise money, and bring awareness to this situation for others. So I thank you for taking that pledge with me, and I thank you for being on Beyond the Battle, Pain, Pageants, and Perspective. And if you, we'd like to have you back in the future to see how things are going and what you're up to, and provide some more advice, because I'm sure as you continue, our transition is never done. We're transitioning from one thing to another, and I'm sure you'll have some pretty amazing advice for us along the way. So thank you so much.
Thank you for letting me be on here and give some advice. I hope it helps somebody, and I'm just pleased as all get out to have connected with you. You're a treasure, and you're doing fantastic things. I'm very proud to know you, to be proud of what you've been doing,
Thank
because
you.
people that have gone through what you've gone through have, quit, and
Right.
you're not quitting. You're not a quitter, and I'm very proud of what you've done and accomplishing and continue to do. Being a voice in the cold darkness out there, still lighting the way. So congratulations to you, and keep fighting the fight.
Thank you so much. And we will be in touch soon. Ciao. Well, everybody, we had a great conversation. I always enjoy talking to Sergeant Major. He is a wealth of knowledge at any given time. One, he's got 30 years of marriage under his belt, hashtag marriage goals, because me and my husband are trying to get there. He, spent 29 years in the military doing great things, and coach, teach, and mentoring those around him, peers and subordinates and other leaders alike. So we just thank him for being here. Again, if you or someone has some issues that they feel that they need to work out, he has provided us with Celebrate Recovery. Google them, look them up, and see if there's one near you. The other thing is he talked about his the healthcare opportunities. So if you are interested in those healthcare opportunities, please, please, please use this link to see what products and services that are available to you through him. And if you're interested in doing what he does, which is a great thing, helping cut the cost of healthcare for those who really need it. We all really need to have our healthcare costs cut. He's the one that you can talk to help you along the way. So I just want to thank you all for tuning in to Beyond the Battle, Pain, Pageants, and Perspective, where we always aim to bring you an uplifting story to remind you that you are not alone. Transition is not something that only one person goes through. However, it is unique to the eaches. So take the time. Your transition will not be at the same pace as mine. It may not be at the same pace as Sergeant Major's or your BFF. We all transition in our own time. So take the time, be patient, take a step back, and find the passion that's growing in your heart and go after it. Thank you for all you do. Thank you for all your support. And I look forward to seeing you next Monday on part 3 of Military Transition Stories. Until next time, friends. Ciao.